Welcome to Massive Late Fee. And now your hosts, Mark and Carol. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Massive Late Fee. My name is Mark. With me as always is my fiance Carol. How you doing today, Carol?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. It's been a great week here. It's August 1st, 1998, and
What in the fuck was that?
that's a machine gun.
See, it sounded like lawn equipment to me.
The lawn equipment that is eviscerating American soldiers on beaches in France everywhere.
Oh, goodness.
I forwent. Yes, forwent.
What?
That's how you say that. I forwent the news today. I looked over some things, but we're bypassing the news.
No, but forwent? Like, I've never heard that word ever in my whole life. I've heard foregone.
Yeah, I believe it's the past tense of foregone.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I have a killer joke, but it only really is funny written out.
Okay.
It's my plan if I'm ever faced with a werewolf and I kill them. Have you ever, werewolf is spelled WEREWOLF, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'll be more like WEREOLF, but the second person subjective of was. So more like werewolf.
What is happening?
If I kill a werewolf, I'll say more like werewolf. But it's spelled the same way.
I think anybody who's out there and laughing right now
should be my friend.
is a giant dork.
What the fuck?
Only people
Oh my god.
who are literary geeks would be getting this joke right now.
I've never called people that laugh at your jokes dorks.
I don't make jokes.
No, you make jokes sometimes.
Not really.
You create funny situations.
But I don't make jokes.
I mean, I guess you don't make specific jokes.
You make jokes.
You don't do like a setup punchline kind of thing.
No.
Like a bait and switch.
You're the jokester.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's no joke that we watched a very funny movie.
Oh, Lord. What in the fuck is wrong with you? It was not funny. It was not funny in any
I
way.
believe it was called Saving Private Ryan.
It was awful.
The porn parody will be Shaving Ryan's Privates.
Ew. So, let me say, it was awful because it was emotionally awful, but it wasn't. It was a good movie.
Yeah, it wasn't awful in any way. It was the best film I've seen all year. And maybe one of the best films I've seen as far as Spielberg's films, where does it rank? I mean, that's the question. I
would need like the entire list. I don't know.
Of Steven Spielberg's oeuvre.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Oh God, are you gonna come up with it right now?
Yeah,
well, you got that shit stored away.
I'm not gonna say every single movie he ever made, but I'll give you highlights. Okay.
Okay.
Jaws, E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
Let's say those 7.
Okay.
He also made Duel and like a Poltergeist and a bunch of other stuff. But.
Well, okay. So are we saying the best movie he made or the movie we like the most? Because those are not the same.
What I'm saying is where best he made. Where does it rank in that list?
Probably like the top 3.
For sure. Top 3, I think.
What do you think?
What I assume Schindler's List would be up there.
Number 1.
And Jurassic Park, I guess?
Yep.
In your opinion?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm partial to Jaws. I love Jaws. I'm not Dawson Leary though, so I don't I'm not a huge I like Steven Spielberg. He's a fantastic filmmaker, but I'm not like a Spielberg dork or whatever.
Oh, here's a question.
Yeah.
Are they gonna
Dawson like it?
Yeah, that was my question.
Oh, really?
Are they gonna talk about it on Dawson's Creek?
They probably will.
We'll see.
Schindler's List. Saving Private Ryan. I forgot what we watched. So, was this movie FUBAR? we have a new acronym, a new old acronym.
Fucked up beyond all repair. I like it.
Yeah. Apparently it was popularized during World War II, but I've never heard of it until this movie.
It reminds me of another acronym.
Yeah.
Fine.
Fine. Fucked in Nicaragua, everyone.
Fucked up, insecure, neurotic.
That does not spell fine in any way.
Well, fucked up is one. It's F.
Fun. Okay, fucked up.
Insecure, neurotic, and what's the last? I don't remember the E
Insecure,
now
neurotic, emotional.
Yes, actually, I think that might be it. Yes, I think that's correct.
I've never heard
because
it
it's
before.
like when people say they're fine, you know, they're like they're not really fine. Yeah, that's a therapy
I like
thing.
laser.
The fuck is laser?
Light amplification through
Oh God, what is wrong with you?
stimulated emission of radiation.
So this movie,
Yeah. They could have used a laser.
I almost threw up my popcorn watching this movie.
She was, yeah. So the opening scene.
I regretted our decision to watch the movie within about 5 minutes.
To me, yeah, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just going to me, this movie is, I don't want to say it's like bipolar, but it's like, I don't know exactly how to describe it. It's not two different movies because everything is stitched together very well. It's made very well. But there are two kinds of movies that exist in this movie.
Okay.
There are big action set pieces in this movie. The invasion of Normandy being one of them. Like 30 minutes, like the first 30 minutes of the movie, it's harrowing. And maybe the most impressive battle footage I have ever seen in my life in any movie.
Maybe one of the worst 30 minutes of my life.
It was horrifying, but it really captures the brutality of war and the bloodiness of this battle.
And they don't use any lube here. I mean, like,
No.
there's no building up to this. There's just, you know, I mean, like, we start out seeing an old dude walking in Arlington Cemetery.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
That's a couple minutes.
I liked the decision not to put Matt Damon in old age makeup.
Yeah.
To cast a guy, an older actor that looks vaguely like Matt Damon. I
Yeah.
thought that was a much better decision.
Okay. But he, you know, falls down and then we zero in on his eyes.
Yes.
And then we're in these boats invading Normandy and you think the person you're seeing then is him, but it's not.
It's Thomas Hanks.
They fool you. They fuck with you. I don't really like the dishonesty of that shot.
It's Thomas Jeffrey Hanks.
Because it's spoiled. Like, it makes you think then that he's going to make it.
Right. They don't want to spoil that. That's the point of that.
It's bullshit. They make you think he's going to live and then he doesn't fucking live.
Spoilers, everyone.
It's not okay.
Should watch this movie. But yeah, but like as you said, no lube. We get a brief close up of his shaking hand, drinking a canteen, and then the hand's not, but it's used to open the canteen. And then they land on the beach, and immediately the first wave of people are just murdered.
Well, and prior to that, even before they hit the beach, they're puking.
Oh, yeah, everyone's puking.
And that
I would be too.
Well, probably everybody would be, but it's just like you don't need to fucking see that. Like, you don't need to like close up watch puke coming out of people's mouths. And for a moment, I was offended by that until the next offensive thing happened, and I realized that there's no reason to be offended about that because
someone's intestines have just spilled out all over
while they're crying, "Mama."
Yeah.
And they're wearing.
And then a dinosaur walks by and goes, "Not the mama."
And they're wearing.
Well, that was a weird choice, but Jurassic Park, it fits.
Right. They're wearing helmets. that don't work.
Well, they work part of the time.
They don't work.
Until saved the one guy's life till he took it off and was like, oh, wow, I'm so lucky. And then he gets killed.
But on the way onto the beach, in the ship, we see a bunch of fucking bullets just penetrate these helmets and kill these dudes.
Yeah, but they can't. They're being fired on by machine guns. They can't make a bullet that stands up to every fucking gun.
Well, they make bulletproof vests. Why don't they make helmets out of the same thing they make bulletproof vests out of?
Because they didn't make bulletproof vests or that stuff during World War II. It's 1944 in the movie.
Damn you and your logic.
Teflon hasn't been invented. DuPont hasn't made all its advances. But anyway, so as I was saying, to me it's a schizophrenic kind of movie, sort of, but not really. It's just there are these big action set pieces. So there's the Normandy one. There's a big battle at the end of the movie too, which is actually not as chaotic, like not as big as the Normandy battle, but more intense, I think, in certain ways.
Well, I think part of the reason it's more intense is that we know these characters and we care about them now. Whereas in the beginning, it's like it's just this bloodbath, but we're not emotionally invested.
Yeah, 100%.
My stomach hurt at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
it was because they all fucking die.
No, they don't all die. They don't all die. That's one of the things I'm going to praise about the movie is that it doesn't go over the top unrealistic where they all die. They don't all die.
Who lived?
Adam Goldberg lived. The fucking Burns lived. These are the actors' real names. I can't remember their fucking... Goldberg did die.
Yeah.
Uden, he got stabbed in a horrifying way. But Burns lived. The writer guy lived.
Yeah, he shouldn't have.
Matt Damon lived.
Yeah, he lived. But it's like, okay, I guess we should back up. Because...
Can I finish my point?
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, my point was, there's all these big battle scenes. That's one part of the movie. The other part of the movie is the times in between that, where the movie is a dialogue-heavy, contemplative, talking movie about the nature of humanity and what it's like to what we sacrifice in war and the horrors of war and the insanity of everything going on around, all that stuff. Like all these guys are smearing the screen with their acting. It's like there's very strong performances and very dialogue-heavy scenes of emotions and people sharing stories. And it's all quiet and contemplative. So in the valleys between these big action set pieces is this, too.
Yeah.
And I think it makes the movie a much richer experience having all those scenes. And Spielberg is a master at putting these scenes together.
Mm. No, I mean, I agree. It's a really well done and well put together movie. It's just a lot to deal with.
You wanted to back it up. Beep, beep, beep.
Well, I just feel like we should probably discuss the actual plot of the movie. So,
sure.
Like Mark said, they start out with the D-Day, the Normandy invasion.
Correct. Operation Overlord.
And then we cut to... Who are these people? They're politicians of some sort, or
essentially, they work for the they work for George C. Marshall, who is the Army Chief of Staff. So essentially, he's the person in charge of coordinating all the shit. You know what I mean? Not battle stuff, but he coordinates personnel and all that stuff. So that's what the Chief of Staff does.
And so somehow he has put together that these three young men with the... What?
Not somehow. And first of all, there's not very many women in this movie, and you're giving short shrift to the woman that actually figures this out. She has no dialogue, and we don't see her, but there's a pool. This is also part of the horrifyingness of... what's going on here. But there's a pool of women typing, okay? And what they're doing is they're typing letters home to families of people killed. And there's just, it's an army of them, no pun intended, just typing these letters, so thousands and thousands of letters. And we hear voiceovers of it and everything. And this one woman, this is one of the things that Spielberg does so brilliantly. We see her discover that these brothers have all been killed with no dialogue whatsoever. She's typing a letter, and it's like, "Dear Mrs. Ryan," and then she stops and looks at the thing, and then she takes her paper out of the typewriter. She goes over to somebody else who's typing. She looks in one of those books, and she pulls out, and she starts pulling letters out, and she takes it to Tim Whatley from Seinfeld. Bryan Cranston, who played the dentist occasionally on Seinfeld.
Okay.
Comedy actor. And it's weird to see him in this with really short hair, too. But she gives it to him, and he's like, "Oh, fuck. All these dudes have died." And they take it to George Marshall, the Army Chief of Staff, and they're like, "Hey, so here's the situation. This dude, Ryan, or this woman, Ryan, has 4 sons, and 3 of them were all killed at D-Day, and we don't know where the 4th one is."
And she'll be getting these telegrams, all 3 of them, this afternoon.
Yeah, all together.
Can you even fucking imagine?
And some fantastic acting, again, from the woman playing the mother, where she sees the car and knows what it has to be and just collapses. It's such a simple thing, but it conveys the emotion so well.
What sucks is she collapses before she even really knows. She knows somebody died.
Yeah, but it's all 3. Yeah.
I'm sorry, that would just kill a woman. It seems unrealistic that she's there for the 4th one.
So it's supposedly based on a true story of, I can't remember, I think Nyland was the last name, but someone who they thought his 4 brothers were killed in, no, I think it was 4.
Okay.
I think in the real story it was 4, and he was the 5th brother, and or maybe it was 4. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 4. So I think his 3 brothers were thought to be killed, but it turns out one of them was actually alive.
Okay.
And was a prisoner of war and got returned home. So she lost half of her sons. But so George Marshall sees this, and they're all like, there's not an argument, but there's a debate in the room where one of them's like, "We got to find this Ryan dude, get him out, and send him home so that his mom doesn't lose all of her fucking sons." And the other guy's like, "Look, we have no idea where this dude is. He was in an airborne division that parachuted down. They got scattered everywhere. We don't know where the fuck he is. We're not going to... Why send a bunch of them in there? He's probably killed in action anyway." And then George Marshall grabs a letter. Apparently he has a personal letter. It's weird. But he grabs a letter and he reads it. It's addressed to a woman who, during the Civil War, lost... I don't know if this is a true story or not, but during the Civil War, lost all 5 of her sons. And it goes on, about... it's very... That makes me think it's kind of real, because it's very eloquently written. And Lincoln, spoiler alerts, it's Lincoln writing to this woman, President Lincoln, was known for being just
eloquent.
Yeah. And he basically, says, like, "I know it's no solace, but know that, they gave their lives so that the Republic may live," and all that stuff. And it's a very emotional and touching thing. And George Marshall's just like, ever the romantic, I guess, is like, "The boy's alive and we're going to fucking get him," or whatever. So go get him. And then they say to Tom Hanks, "Hey, get some guys and go fucking find Matt Damon. And I want you all to hate him."
And this is after Tom Hanks was the captain of a
NASA ship that had some problems. That's chronologically correct.
What, wasn't he a captain?
He was a captain, yes. He was still a captain. He was a captain throughout the entire movie.
Okay. So he's a captain of a, what, platoon? What do they say? Like
They're Army Rangers.
Rangers, okay.
So I think it's a squad, I believe, that they call it.
And I think, almost all of them were killed on the way into the beach.
A lot of them were, yeah.
Which has to be awful. At one point, he says that he's lost 94 men.
Yeah.
How do you keep going? Like, that's crazy.
I will tell you that we ask people, soldiers, to do horrific things in war. And, I mean, it's madness. The whole thing is madness. Like, even the having to come to it, you know what I mean? The thought that we ever need to go to war for anything is just mind-boggling to me. Like, I don't know. I know it. I understand World War II. It had to happen, because of Hitler's, invasion of all of Europe and his systematic extermination of the Jewry of Europe. But it's I don't know. It's which this movie doesn't really get into, by the way, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It's more about what missions matter, really. But anyway, so yeah, he's a captain. He's lost a bunch of his men, and then they're like, "Hey, you just fought through the fucking beach, and you're on Normandy now. Go just fucking bumble around France till you find this dude."
Crazy. I want to know too. Like, they keep talking about earning their right to go home.
Sure.
Like, did they tell them if you find him, you get to go home with him? Like, no. I don't know where that was coming from.
So that's, to me, part of the philosophy of the movie. At one point, Tom Hanks is like you said, is the captain of this group of Army Rangers, and they have a bet as to what he did for a living. Everyone talks about themselves and everything. He doesn't talk about himself very much, and they've got a pool going as to what he did for a living and where he was from and everything. At one point, they storm, as they're going through trying to find Matt Damon, they storm a machine gunner's nest and kill a bunch of Nazis, and there's one left. And he's like, essentially, Tom Hanks is like, we're going to fucking kill him. He killed one of our friends, Giovanni Ribisi, and he killed some other people too. We killed that, we destroyed the nest so that he couldn't kill more people. We're going to kill him because he's a prisoner, and we cannot take prisoners right now. We have, what I mean? Like, that's all we can do. We can't just let him go. And the writer guy is like, he gave up. We can't just shoot him.
Yeah, he surrendered.
It's inhumane, essentially. Tom Hanks, I guess, is moved by this or whatever. It's a longer debate and everything, and he's like, here, put a blindfold on him, tell him to walk 1,000 paces, and then he can take the blindfold off and surrender to the next Allied forces. Dumb move, in my opinion, really.
Yeah.
Because, well, we'll get into it in a second as soon as we outline everything. But one of the guys, Burns, I can't remember his first name, but he's been in some other movies. I think it was in another movie we did, a romantic comedy or something like that. But he's pissed off, and he's like, are you fucking kidding me? We're letting this guy go. And it becomes this big thing. Everyone's fighting. Tom Hanks is just kind of like walking around not saying anything. Everyone is fighting. He wants to desert. Tom Sizemore, the sergeant, he's got his captain's back, and he's like pointing a gun at this guy like, I will fucking kill you. And it's like a whole big thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going anywhere. And Tom Hanks stops it by saying, what's the pull on me now? I was a school teacher. And he goes into this whole thing about his life, how he's a school teacher in Pennsylvania, married, all this stuff. And he talks about what he's seen in the war, what he's done, the people he's lost, all this stuff. And he says, all I know is every person I kill, I feel farther away from home and farther away from my wife. And it's like, to me, that's a big part of the movie, is what is the mission? Like, when they're talking about earning their right to go home, I think he's saying, like he said, he's like, if saving this guy, instead of killing people, if saving one guy earns my soul the right to, like, you know, rest easy and be able to go home. And because when he says go home, he's not talking, I don't think anyway, he's not talking about literally going home. He's talking about feeling closer to home, feeling more like the person he was before all of this.
Okay.
And I think he's saying, like, you know, if I can do this, maybe I can be more the man that I was than this person that I've become. So I think that's what they're talking about when he's talking about that. And I think that's the point of the movie is, are we in war, like, are we trying to do good? You know, and what is good when we're talking about war? So,
wow, okay. I mean, at one point towards the end of the movie, like at his dying words,
yeah,
after they do eventually, spoilers, find the guy.
yeah, not before finding another guy.
Oh God, yeah,
named Ryan. What was his first name?
James.
James. Yeah, before finding another guy named James Ryan. And
such a common name.
And telling him that his brothers have died. And he's like fucking sobbing and like all this stuff. And they're like,
I was going to take him fishing.
How did it happen? They died in combat. They're in grammar school. And he's like, oh, fuck. Are you from Iowa? He's like, no, Minnesota. And he's like, oh, sorry. Yeah, your brothers are probably fine. And he's like, well, how can you know?
Yeah, he's just like, they broke this guy. He's just like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
He's sobbing.
Yeah, freaking out. It sucks.
Like, yeah, I mean, his worst fears, like, hey.
But, yeah, so, wrong guy. But they do end up finding him. And when they find him, he's like, I don't want to fucking go. He's like, I want to be here with my guys. Like, why am I going to leave? And, yeah.
And they're like, well, what are we supposed to tell your mother? You know, and he's like, tell her that I stayed with the only brothers I have left.
And he's like, yeah, she's really going to love that.
Like, what the fuck?
Fucking asshole. But, yeah, it's... One thing I think is interesting, so Spielberg is known for his realism and all that stuff, and one of the things I think is funny, this is a behind-the-scenes thing that I read. So, he had all the actors in the movie go through basic training.
Oh, really?
Go through like 6 weeks of grueling basic training, except for Matt Damon.
Why?
Because he wanted the rest of them to hate him. He wanted to create a separation and an animosity between these guys and Matt Damon.
That's stupid.
No, I think it's something that I think works. They all are as the movie goes on, they're all like antagonistic towards him. They haven't even met him yet. And they're like, a bunch of them are like, he's fucking dead. I hope he's dead. You know, like they're all pissed off and everything about him because they don't want to be putting their lives on the line for this one guy.
The question comes up over and over, why are our 8 lives worth less than his life? And that's why, like, most of them do die. I mean,
most of them do die, yeah.
At least 4. I think more than 4 of them die.
Don't you think most of them probably would have died anyway, though? In the subsequent fighting in France?
Probably. But, I mean, like, it's not really the point. Like, okay, so she had 4 sons and 3 of them died, and that's awful, and they're trying to make sure she still has a son at the end of this. But what if, you know, these guys are their mom's only sons? Like, we're making a lot of assumptions that they're not also ruining a family by letting these guys die trying to find this one guy. It's a good question.
Their families are going to be affected whether they're the only sons or not. 100%. You are putting at risk and eventually, you know, hurting the families of all these other people. The question, I believe, and it is a good question to ask, but I think the answer comes back to, you know, where would they be better served? Would they be better served killing 20, 30 more Nazis? Like, what what's the point? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, so it's the difference between the mass, like looking at it macroscopically, looking at the whole thing where like we have these soldiers going here, and it's like they all need to go here and do their little part in order for us to advance to Berlin to end the war and all this other stuff, right? But then if you look at it microscopically, if you look at the individual thing, it's like, what is the point of me killing these guys? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just fighting through these guys to get to Berlin and stuff. So it's like, is it more noble to do this than to... Did they do more good on an individual level? Obviously, winning the war was the most good. But on an individual soldier level, did they do more good saving this guy? Because then he, as we see at the end of the movie, then he had children who had children. He has children and grandchildren. These people exist because they did this.
Well, and Tom Hanks's character's last words to him, like I was saying when he was dying, is, earn this.
Yeah.
What a mind fuck for this poor dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Because here he is, an old man with his whole family, and he's asking his wife, "Am I a good person? Did I earn it? Like, how is my life worth it?"
Because of the sacrifice that all the rest of them made.
And unless he did something miraculous, something incredible, he probably always feels like he didn't earn it.
Well, I mean, he went on to solve that fucking equation at MIT. I mean, that was big.
Right.
Shook up the math world. I was able to do this because of fucking Tom Hanks.
But I mean, like, I can't even imagine the burden that he lived with.
No, it's, and I feel like we've only seen it once, obviously. It's a movie I probably want to see again. I know you don't.
Oh, fuck no.
But, and to me, so for all the spectacle, obviously that's what a lot of people are talking about is the big, and that's kind of what I was getting at the beginning of this conversation. The big spectacle, the big battles are great. Like they're horrifying. They capture the horror of war very well. But they're like technological marvels of filmmaking. They're fantastic. But the heart of the movie is these questions. Mm-hmm. Is Giovanni Ribisi sitting there after Vincent Diesel gets that's the actor's name. I can't remember. He's like an Italian dude. But he what?
Vin Diesel?
Yeah, that's the guy's name. He's the first guy when the person's trying to give him the little girl and he gets shot by the sniper. That's him.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah, I've never seen him in anything, but that's his name. But anyway, so he gets shot, right? He has a letter for his dad. It's all covered in blood.
Yeah.
So Giovanni Ribisi, by candlelight in a church while they're waiting, transcribing it.
Because his dying request was, please rewrite this letter. It's covered in blood. It needs to go to my father. Mm-hmm. What a task.
But that, to me, like I'm saying, that's the heart of the movie.
Well,
stuff.
And then later...
everyone takes that letter, by the way.
Because then later he has it and gets killed, and there's blood on it again.
And then Tom Hanks takes it, and Tom Hanks gets killed, and then Burns takes it.
Was it bloody then, too? I feel like it was. I feel like there was always blood on that goddamn letter.
I think it was a little cleaner that time, but...
But, like, first of all, it's going to be fucked up by the time he gets it, because, telephone. But... But I mean, like the fact that
I love your lasagna. What the fuck does this mean? Vincent Diesel? What are you saying?
Oh, but I mean, like, okay.
By the way, that's the name of a fucking truck, not a human being. Vin Diesel.
I don't know.
Vehicle identification number Diesel.
I was thinking the whole time about that letter, though. Like, it's not going to be in his son's handwriting. They're going to have to explain why they rewrote it.
Yeah.
And it kind of takes away the point in the first place.
I mean, that's looking into it a little bit too much.
I guess, but that's where my brain goes late at night.
But yeah,
after I've spent an hour crying.
But yeah, Giovanni Ribisi is doing this letter by candlelight. and then he talks about a story about how he would try to stay awake to see his mom when she got home.
Yeah.
And then how sometimes she'd get home early and he'd pretend to be asleep. And he says, I don't know why I did that. And it's just marvelous. The writing in this movie is just fantastic. And it really gets to the heart of humanity. Mm-hmm. And the big special effects and the big spectacle is great, but those scenes are what cinema is really about.
Yeah, it is a fantastic movie. It's just,
it might be the best war movie I've ever seen. I mean, I think it is the best war movie I've ever seen. It's the one that has the most humanity.
For sure. It's just so hard to watch, though.
Glory was also very good.
Yeah, Glory's very good.
And that's another one with a lot of humanity. But I think this is a wonderful mix of everything that you would want in a war movie. I think the definitive war picture.
I'm so grateful to never have had to be in a situation like this, to have been in war. And I'm so grateful to anybody who has done that for our country. I mean, it's awful to go through. And I feel like I understand a little more now what it would be like after watching this. And it just, the chaos, the absolute chaos. It's hard to believe that anybody accomplishes anything in any kind of concrete order in that situation, because it's they're supposed to be in these groups together, with missions, but everybody's just so confused and broken up and everywhere. And
that happens a lot. They talk about that.
Yeah.
How it gets, everything gets fucked up, and then you go meet fucking Ted Danson.
Right.
Sudden Ted Danson in this movie for a little bit.
Yeah, he had a very small role. But yeah, it's just they're just putting together troops from pieces left over after they were all just blown up. It's nuts. And how is anybody ever going to know who lived and who died, and that everybody gets where they're supposed to?
You know what part of what I kind of realized in this is that, and it's something I never thought about before, but during World War II, I'll bet you there are at least hundreds, maybe thousands of U.S. soldiers just buried in France and Europe, just buried in Europe, because you can't take all the bodies back,
right?
And it's kind of a fucked up thought that they're fighting through Europe and just digging holes, and it's some of them are just buried there. It's fucked up.
I don't remember from the chaos of everything in that last battle. I remember Tom Hanks said that Matt Damon had to stay right with him because he wanted to make sure he was saved, right? Did he actively save him, or did he just get killed?
No, he just got killed.
Okay.
No, they enact what I think is actually a pretty good plan, but there's 12 of them and not a ton of armaments against 150 German soldiers, and they kill most of them.
Yeah, they did well. It was impressive
until air support shows up at the end, and then air support gets the rest of them.
Yeah,
but it's too late for Tom Hanks, who dies,
and it's too late for the two men that are in the top of that fucking tower.
Oh yeah, but not too late for the coward writer.
I was so angry. I can't judge, because who knows? I'd probably be in a corner crying somewhere too. But, he went through basic training. Mm-hmm. He's in the war. His friends are up there. Fucking get it together.
Yeah.
It was, I felt sorry for him and sad for him, but also angry.
I thought about myself, and I was I really became a harsh critic of myself, and I was like, would you do that? You'd probably be terrified and everything and all that stuff. Would you just, not be able to move and everything? I don't think I would, though.
No, I'm sure I would get up there and fucking try.
Yeah, I the way... I can't be sure of anything, but the way, you could hear them struggling and everything, right? And it's like your friend's up there and you have a weapon. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like there's no shooting. It sounds like neither of them have a weapon. You have a weapon. Like, I am pretty certain I wouldn't have reacted that way.
Yeah, I mean, they were calling for him because they knew he was out there with more ammo. They needed more ammo.
Yeah.
And the worst part is this guy who murders them just, with a knife. And this fucking pussy writer is on the stairs, like halfway up there, just freezes and doesn't go help them. And this German douche comes down and like looks at him like he could have killed him.
Yeah.
Because even though he had a gun and everything, he wasn't doing shit. And he just looks at him like, well, you're obviously nothing, and just walks past.
Yeah.
Like,
but then eventually he does shoot and kill him.
Yeah.
After he does nothing and air support gets there and everyone surrenders, he makes him the one he kills.
Because he looked at him and laughed and said his name, reminding him that I know who you are because they were calling you.
And do you think that's why he does it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he taunted him with like, I killed your friends. I know who you are. They were calling for you. That all, just by saying his name, all that's conveyed to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like, well, that's too little too late. Like, I don't know what the fuck you think like you're doing there, but yeah, I guess I get it now with what you're saying. But it was, there's a lot of that. And like I said, that's kind of why I want to watch it again. Is because there's a lot of things, and I think there's a lot of themes and, ideas that I might not even have fully grasped the first time around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in this movie for sure.
It's an incredibly layered film and just really brilliantly done. And John Williams, who, pretty much, like, Spielberg basically only works with John Williams as far as the score goes. John Williams' score is fantastic and haunting and everything.
Yeah. It was just, it's almost 3 hours long.
Yep.
Probably at least a full hour of it is just brutal battle.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest of it's heavy emotion.
But it's fantastic.
It is, but it's so much like, yeah, okay, see it, but I don't know how you can want to see it again, honestly. I understand what you're saying, why, but
But I highly recommend it. I'm going to take my dad to it. So, I think... yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend it. And I'd recommend seeing it in the theater. I think with as big of a scope, it's an epic movie, as big of a scope as this movie is, I think watching it in the theater is 100% worth it.
For sure.
But that is the show, so go ahead, Carol.
All right, so you can write us at latefeet1994 at AOL.com.
Uh-huh.
Check out our website at www.retrolatefeet.com.
Yes.
And share the tapes with your friends.
All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.